recording. Once again, I greet you, future alien archaeologists who've discovered my hard drive. No doubt from the wreckage of our society after it turns out that the virus was worse than we all thought.
Man, our butts clean.
Yeah, that's right. Well, some of our butts are excessively clean. Some of them are not. Bidet mate.
Oh no.
As always, the Crystal Tomb is brought to you by XSplit Broadcaster and by Tractor Blonda. I forgot that part. I am kcStranger. I am joined by my four healthy players.
You can't prove that.
It's aspirational.
And it could be temporary.
No, it's respiratory.
So, dear God. Last time, the party did battle with the Cybriax, a great demon with a bloated body of flesh, bile, and chains. It attacked with its chains, acids, and spells. The party retorted with spells, the stomps of 16 horses, and even a swing from the Axe of Sundering. Although the party was able to defeat the demon, it exacted some revenge. In particular, Colleen was subjected to the demon's flesh-warping ability, leaving her with inky black eyes and tentacle arms. Changes not without some utility, but perhaps awkward in polite society. After the fight, the party met with the village's leader, Elder Hosel. They walked around the village with him, helped a few survivors, and finally left to retrieve the people who'd evacuated the fight. They found Indomitable, whom Quiz recognized had used the situation to gain some sort of sway with the village's people. Meanwhile, the party learned that the village was composed of worshippers of Sheena, the goddess of destruction, with whose cultists they have done battle a few times. That being said, the people there were not devoted to wanton destruction like some of Sheena's worshippers, but they nevertheless revered her as a bringer of the destruction necessary in life's cycle. Indeed. The party spent the night in Molsvan's home, one of the tieflings they'd met earlier, where he accommodated them the best he could. They exchanged words with Elder Hosel, who showed some knowledge of the vestiges and confirmed that the party most likely sought the lost village of Isfar. He told them that it lay near the point where the mountain springs turned into a stream, and that it was said that long ago, half the village was killed in a night, and the other half abandoned the village in a week. The party went to sleep, planning in the morning to leave Basirna, the town they're in, with Skarn, the captain of the largest sailing ship on the island. So, Colleen, you wake first. Hosel, Virna, and Levy had left the previous evening, but also that evening you'd learned that Zykos was Molsvan's brother, and as you wake, you notice him about to leave the house. As you open your eyes, he briefly waves at you, and the door swings shut behind him. You look out the window and regard the breaking dawn with inky eyes. You check the small attached shed for your undead, all accounted for. And in time, the rest of you awake as well. Your host does not show himself for some time. After you're all well and truly awake, he trots down the stairs in a huff. And Molsvan says, sorry, where are my manners? Oversleeping when I have guests. I'll get you breakfast right away. And he busies himself preparing eggs, fruit, some rice as you ready yourselves for the day ahead.
Ooh, breakfast rice.
Mm-hmm. Little bit of time passes. Kane, the sending stone, activates as Molsvan is getting ready to serve breakfast, and you get a message.
I love messages.
Yeah. So the message is, "Don't harbor in." The message is, "Don't harbor in Valhir. I'm in a cottage a mile inland, right between the first and second mouths of the floodplain. I'll help you." So, once again, here.
Wait, was that Tuli?
Yeah, I kind of screwed up the voice, but that's the message, and at least as far as you know, it's from Tuli.
Well, I mean, it isn't part of the item that I know for a fact.
No.
I thought, because the sending spell.
Well, let me double check how sending works. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
I feel like we had this conversation,
We might have.
or maybe it was someone else.
Nope, you're right. It's Tuli.
All right, dope. Okay. I relay. Hey, they're at a floodplain between ball hairs.
Oh, that's
What
amazing.
follicle specifically?
Between the first and second, actually. So let me go ahead and
First,
show you on the map.
Well,
Not safe for work incoming.
oh god.
Yes.
I deserve this kind of game, Casey.
All right. So here is the floodplain. And so basically it branches off
There's
into
so much shit on this right now.
It branches off into all, so like it's one big channel that branches off into all these follicles, and so it'd just be the two on the left.
Did you really say follicles again?
Yeah. I mean on purpose.
Wait, I don't see
Embracing
ball
it.
hair on here.
Tributaries, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
see,
that. Well, they're
that's
not.
old map.
They don't feed into it. They come out of it. So it's like a delta, basically.
Okay.
A follicle, if you will.
Yeah.
So
I guess
basically,
I don't know if I have much option, so I will.
Nature's follicle.
so like here's the city right here, and she's telling you to go just a little bit outside of it. So like, if I draw it with an arrow, like rather than go to the base of the arrow, she's saying to go like there instead.
Oh, I see.
Be gentle.
You must take care of your follicle. Okay. Yeah, convey that to everybody.
Cool.
But
Oh, by the way, since you were asking, let me quickly remind you. You guys are like, you're looking to just make a little journey like around here. Like you're currently where the base of the arrow is, and there's supposedly this little island right here that you're gonna go to.
alright. And Quiz hasn't told us about his thing from the person, right? That talked about Tirsa.
I do not believe so.
Alright. Then I will respond with, alright, we'll see you there. It might take longer. We lost our dragon.
Okay. All right. We'll see. All right. Cool. Got it.
Bad.
All right. So,
Took our Durgans.
sorry,
Took our Durgans.
Durgans? Oh, Durgans. Got it.
Like, took our
Sorry, it took me way too long to figure that out. All right. So, is anyone looking? So it's now early morning. Molsvan serves you all some food. You know have your fill. Is anyone looking to do anything in particular before you just sort of make to leave?
I'm going to go up to Quiz. Hey Quiz, can I get some paper? And a writing utensil.
I look at him for real long. Why?
Because I want to write stuff down.
I look through my stack of papers and I find the one that looks like the least best one, like one that's maybe on the outside of the roll and is a little damaged.
Well,
I give him that one.
I need a few sheets of paper. I have lots of things to write down.
I give him 2 sheets of paper.
Thanks, friend.
You're gonna have to find your own quill. I only have one.
I have writing stuff. I just stole stuff from Quiz last time he wasn't here. We commandeered his parchment.
Are you saying that in character?
No.
Oh, well, I don't think Kane. I don't know. I'll go to Clean. Clean, do you have any paper and a quill?
Didn't you just ask Quiz for paper?
I know, but I need more, and I need some to write with.
Most fun over here is, I think I can help you out with that. He says, just a sec, and he disappears upstairs. About a minute later, he comes down with what appear to be like some scraps of parchment. Like it. Oh, I'm getting a echo from somebody, by the way. I don't. Anyways, so they appear to be like torn in half or something like that. He also does have a reasonable quill, and a little bottle half filled with ink, and he says.
Formed parchment. I need whole sheets.
He nods
Thank you
and
for the
says, "Right.
quill and ink.
Well, best I had around. Glad I could help."
Clean. So what the paper? You got any
How much paper do you need, Kane?
as much as you can spare? I have a lot of things I need to write down.
Paper.
What kind of things do you need to write down? I've never seen you read, let alone write.
I need to write everything down.
Can you even write?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Out of character, right? I could write, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever
Your
written
int
anything
isn't
before?
that low.
Fallon says, big boy words.
Shut up. Big boy words. That's rude.
There's not much parchment that I carry with me, so please. What do you need it for?
I need to write everything down.
What's everything, Kane?
Like everything.
No, you don't.
I don't think 5 sheets of parchment is going to be everything, Kane.
Exactly. That's why I need more.
I don't have more than that.
Well,
That's what
I'll
I have.
start with the really important stuff, and I'll keep getting paper as we go along.
And who is this for?
Me.
Great, you'll remember it.
That's doubtful.
I know.
Wait.
Hold on. Okay. Don't be sassy. Be clean.
Like your magic Link said that.
Rein it in.
Clean is only sassy to Kane, but there's a limit.
There's maximum level of sass.
Sure, Kane. Take whatever you need. I believe you have only the purest intentions.
Thank you, Colleen.
Sounded so
I'm
painful.
glad you give me some paper. How many sheets of paper does Colleen give Kane?
5.
5 sheets? That's alright. So I have like what, 7 sheets total?
Sounds like
Yeah.
it.
Precisely 7.
7 sheets, a quill.
Like a half-filled ink bottle.
I'll just put parchment. Well, I put parchment for some reason. Parchment.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. I have to look something up real quick.
7.
So, let me see here. Oh, all these things are weightless according to the player's handbook. Sad face.
Ha! I was worried about that too, though. Real talk. I was like, please don't be over way too much. Alright, so then for the rest of the morning, Kane will start writing down everything.
Okay, so
And by everything, I'm just gonna write about like all the people in Kane's life and just kind of everything Kane can think of that's worth mentioning about them and whatnot.
okay.
All the important people.
Now, point of consideration, the rest of your group might want to leave in the morning and not wait until the afternoon.
I'll write until they want to leave.
Okay, fair enough.
Start writing.
Okay.
And he's just gonna write until he's just gonna start writing.
Okay, so Kane gets his supplies. You see him drop to the table and start writing.
Well, we ready to go?
That's just rude.
Immediately.
Like immediately, you just
Okay, Kane. So you write down about 8 words, and then the rest of your group decides it's time to go, and they start walking out the door.
how do y'all always find time to write stuff down?
Think
There's
about
a
it
lot
ahead
of
of time.
sitting time while we're flying on dragons, usually.
Well, now there's no dragon.
Quiz wrote a lot when you were like waiting for over a day for a portal to open.
Yep.
You know what? If Quiz is going to BRB, I'm going to go ahead and take this chance to run to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Enjoy yourself in there.
And so I look behind the curtain. Kane realized that him using this special power he has the chance of making him lose his memory. So he's like, "Hey, I'll just write down everything. That way, I can't forget." That's his thought process. It's
Okay.
foolproof, right, guys?
It's something.
It's something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
just when all you'll say is, I want to write down everything.
Yeah. Hey man, I gotta roll play the 9 intelligence when I can. Seems like a good time.
Should I be role playing my intelligence? I don't even anymore.
What's yours, like 10?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's like an average intelligence. Kane's like kind of dumb, so I gotta put like a kind of dumb guy.
What am I low on? I'm not low on anything anymore.
Like I think the one time I couldn't do it was like that riddle when we were at the ice castle, and like nobody was looking at the mural, and I was like, does Kane think to look at the mural? Like I never know like how active to be in puzzles as a dumb guy, you know?
Yeah. I don't think about it.
All right.
RPing super low stats can be fun, so I try to have fun with it.
I agree.
But what I explained to everybody was that the peek behind the curtain was that Kane's thought process is I could lose all my memories because of this cool power I have. I'll just write down everything so I
Huh.
can't forget it.
That.
All right. Well, as we go, we can just keep track of how many sheets of parchment you've filled, and
Yes.
and I'll bear that in mind if it becomes
So far I'm at
relevant.
1%.
Well,
So I'm stuck with other people.
it's true. It's true. All right. Let me see. I actually. I slightly want to wait for Quiz to get back because you're about
You're gonna
to
kill.
meet. No, you're about to meet somebody.
So you're not gonna kill Quiz
Yeah.
again.
I'm not gonna what?
Kill Quiz again.
Oh no. I mean, well, probably not. It's always a possibility. I'm not planning to.
Where'd you take Tarvis?
Um,
And did you take away Tarvis just so you could have to balance encounters for a dragon?
Wait, I'm sorry. Come again?
Did you take Tarvis away so you wouldn't have to balance encounters for a dragon?
That factored into my thinking, but it was not the only reason.
I see. I
I
like this story.
I always try to justify things more than just like I wanted to.
Okay.
But if I want to, I might be a little bit more aggressive with my justifications.
It's gonna be. I'm really enjoying. I'm kind of behind in Critical Role, but I'm enjoying Mercer just like kind of getting frustrated sometimes with the fact that there's 2 clerics in the party that just cast less all the time.
That's funny.
It's like so everyone just keeps rolling super well. He's like, God. Or you just heal them, or they just start casting guiding bolts and stuff. He's like, 2 clerics, why?
That's funny. Okay, I guess I don't know how much longer Didge is going to be, so let's just go ahead and get back to it. I'll just fill him in when we get there.
I have filled 1% of paper.
Word. Well, you have 8
Literally.
words, whatever that amounts to. Okay, so you. There we go. That's better. No, it's not. Whatever. I'll just deal with it. Sorry, it's actually kind of hard to think sometimes when you're hearing yourself coming back on loop. So I just apologize for that. So yeah, eventually you gather yourselves together and you're all ready to go. And then you look back and you're like, oh wait, where are we going exactly? I mean, you figure basically the shore. But you look back to Molsfon and he says, yeah, okay, follow me, basically. You walk through the village to the shore where there is indeed a sailing ship of modest size docked in the harbor. You do see a name painted on the side. The name of the ship is the Yarn Shredder. And
Yarn shredder?
the Yarn Shredder.
Is this just like it's like a geriatric sailing ship or something? Like,
Well, you can figure out about that later.
It's cat themed.
Indeed. So you see Zykos and Levy waiting along with the one who's apparently the ship's captain. He is grizzled looking and overweight. His posture and expression seem almost dejected. Nonetheless, there's a sort of odd power in his bearing and a depth in his eyes that suggests he's seen more than the rest of the island's populace combined.
is he a tiefling too?
Indeed. And unusually for a tiefling, he has a full beard and a substantial head of hair. If not for his pale red skin and pointed teeth, he could pass for a human or perhaps like a fire genasi.
No horns?
Not visible.
Cool.
And as you come up, he says, welcome, welcome. Thanks for your help in the town, and pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Skarn, and this here is the Yarn Shredder. Long story, I'll tell you at sea if you want. I'll be your tour guide for this next bit of, well, whatever it is you're up to. I'm sorry. Think you were about to say something. He pauses and looks at you.
I was just gonna say I would like to hear the story. Yes, I am game.
He
This
nods.
is- I forgot our group name, you guys. What was it again?
The yarn shredders.
No.
Shredders of yarn.
Yeah, we have a long way to go, I think. But we appreciate you letting us use your ship.
He nods and says, right then. So, just a few ground rules before we get going. While we're out at sea, I'll try to avoid bossing you around, but if I tell you to do something, do it first and ask questions later. No fires, no lightning, no swarms of termites, nothing that could damage the ship. Quarters will be a bit cramped, but I've cleared 2 cabins below decks that you can use as you see fit. They're at the aft of the ship.
I look at my bangle. As he says lightning.
The poop deck is nearby, so try to be polite tending to your business. As for you, and with this he looks at you, Colleen, there's a hold just in front of your quarters to port that should work well enough for your friends. Zykos and Levy have volunteered to come along and help with the ship, my ship's mate having been among those lost in yesterday's conflict. So be sure to thank them. Now, any questions before we get underway?
Why is it called a poop deck?
He looks at you and says, think about it.
Ew.
He nods.
This isn't our first time on a boat, right?
No, you were on the one with,
Around Harborsdale.
indeed,
Uh,
Lana, Redthorn.
Right. The ship's captain.
Oh, back when J2
That was
Lana!
what's his name? His brother or sister,
Yeah, exactly.
or
Alice,
whatever
sorry.
she wanted to identify as. Okay, Kane, you've pooped on one of those before.
No, I didn't.
Did you levitate off the side?
What are you talking about? What? Oh, you mean the ship? Well, I didn't know that's what the poop deck was for. So, yeah.
Right.
I don't know why there's a
Anyways,
deck for it.
what was Skarn?
Skarn.
Skarner.
Skarner. Hey, what's up?
Captain Skarner. Let's make way, shall we?
He nods and says, "All aboard." And with that, you see Zykos sort of leans over to Molsvan and whispers something to him. Molsvan nods and then waves to you all and says, "Have a good trip, everybody, and thank you once again."
Okay.
By the way, Didja, what you missed is basically you met the ship's captain. He went over ground rules and stuff. He's kind of grizzled, overweight, almost seems to have like a dejected bearing, but also seems kind of powerful and like seems like he knows how to handle himself, and that he's probably like seen some shit, I guess. Um, and also oddly for a tiefling, he's got full beard and full head of hair. Um, does have the nice pointy teeth though. And also the ship is named the Yarn Shredder. He said he could tell you the story while you're out at sea if you wanted.
Also, they convinced Kane that the poop deck is for pooping.
Indeed. So, yep, you all pile on board, and so the first thing is just going to be sort of setting your course. So this is the first person you've met who's got full maps of the world. So at this point, I am going to go ahead and reveal the entire map to you.
Yes.
Oh, snap.
Oh shit.
Big moments. Moments of bigness.
Big
Oh, come on.
Mama's house too.
Roll 20, please. I want to reveal this yellow square.
Everyone's playing D&D, man.
Let's try this one more time.
Don't delete the map.
There we go.
Woo. I didn't delete the map.
All right, so there is what the world currently looks like. Incidentally, I'll go ahead and throw just a little dot where Thule said to go. So it's going to be basically right there.
¿Dónde estamos?
Is that Evik the moth?
The mother.
Okay.
¿Dónde estamos?
Is it a glacier or something?
No, it's the river.
Ah, okay.
So it's like a very, very large river. Like, if I measure this real quick, it's like 20 miles across.
Oh, snap.
I mean, at least at the point where I measured it.
All depends on where you start measuring.
Are you measuring from? Never mind.
It's true. I got there. All right. So let me see here. I guess I'll just go back to this one for the moment. Okay, so you sort of point out the direction you're trying to go.
Wait, I wanted to see where we were. Sorry, I was saying
Where
in
you
Spanish,
were?
but yeah.
So
I was saying in Spanish, but I thought you knew
Oh.
Spanish.
Gotcha. You guys
Saying
are.
"Dónde estamos?"
Oh yeah, you're like
Okay.
here-ish. So
Allí.
so you've got
Estamos allí.
you've got a relatively short trip to your next destination.
What's our next destination?
Just an island about like 40, 50 miles away.
Okay.
But then after that, if indeed you're going this direction, you've got a much longer trip. So. All right. And actually, it occurs to me I should double check what the canonical speed of a sailing ship is. I'll probably
I
wind
think
up.
there's a thing in the.
Yeah, there. It's in the Dungeon Master's Guide. I'm looking it up right now.
In a Wizards of the Coast book, there is an answer.
Oh yeah, actually, it's quite slow. All right, so let me see. I'll make it a little bit faster than that, but it's still going to take you several hours. Oh, actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to make it faster than that because I decided the weather earlier. So, yep, Zykas and Levy, sort of, you see them helping with the ship. You all sort of get yourselves settled, and not too much time passes before you feel the ship push off. As you sail, the warm sun and puffy clouds of the previous day give way to a pale, overcast sky and a cool, gentle breeze. The sea is fairly calm, the wind barely enough to move the ship, but move it does as you sort of crawl slowly towards your destination. So we are going to just sort of have some ship time. At first, Skarn sort of takes the helm and makes sure you're on the right course. After an hour or two, things are pretty calm. He takes a break, and Zykos mans the helm. Levy, after she's done, helping with the ship initially, just sort of settles down by the mast. Indomitable, you see him actually go towards the front deck and just lean up against it, looking out at the sky. Skarn, a short while after he disappears, sort of returns to the deck and has a modest lunch. Some bread and ham, water and ale. That's about it.
All right.
Okay. I mean, you can fill up your 7 sheets of parchment during this time if you want.
He maybe dedicates like a few paragraphs to each major person in his life. Give kind of like an overview.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna like reading the quiz story with the accompanying Kane version.
It's funny.
That's the director's cut version. It's the extended.
And if he has time, he will then begin chronicling his life.
Anyone looking to do anything in particular or talk to anyone?
Can I convert some of my purple flowers?
Yes, absolutely. Well, actually, wait a minute. You might have to build a fire for that.
Okay.
Um,
He won't mind.
Well, so I mean,
kidding.
do you ask him or do you just sort
No,
of?
if I have to create I'm not gonna do that. If I'm gonna make a fire on a boat, so.
No, do it. Do it.
Hush. Okay. 10 intelligence over here, dude.
The full 10.
The full 10. I got the full 10.
Okay.
10 out of 10.
All right. So as you sort of wrap up eating, Colleen, Levy approaches you and says, "So you'd mentioned the other day that you might be able to show me some things. Are you still good for that?"
Sure. What would you like to know?
She looks up and then looks back at you and says, and smiles pleasantly and says, "Well, I imagine we'd need to start with something fairly basic, right?"
Well, it depends on your comfortability. Where would you say you're at? What would you like to focus on?
She says, "Honestly, I know nothing. So, what are the basics?"
Well,
And she looks
Okay.
over at Skarn and says, and adds quickly, "That won't pose any danger to the ship."
what are your goals with this? Why would you want to pursue this path?
She looks down and then looks slowly up at you and says, "Is it a bad answer if I just say I think it's cool?"
You're not wrong to say that it's cool. It's very, very interesting. But being cool is not enough to command this kind of mastery. It's a lot of focus and finesse, and it's very, very delicate.
Oh, I'm more than happy to work at it. I know that, I mean, believe me, it's not like I've been able to figure out much on my own. I work at it, of course, and keep it under control and all those kind of things. I don't know, it's something that I've dreamed about all my life.
I'm happy to show you. I just want you to have a solid goal in mind when you're doing this, because if you don't, you could lose yourself to the darker elements of it, I would say.
She thinks for a moment and then says, normally, when people talk about darker elements, they mean people like you, right?
No, not people like me. I'm rather an oddball of the sort, I suppose. It's not
Well,
my
to listen to a lot of people speak, what you do is just simply wrong.
to me, it's not wrong. It's a form of expression, and it's frequently misunderstood. But my goal is to change that because there are a lot of positive elements that can come from this area of study.
Okay, so what if that's just what I want to do? See what I'm good
Well,
at and find something good to put it to.
let me ask you this. If you think that it is wrong and that is what interests you, why do you have interest?
I didn't say I thought it was wrong. I said that's what other people said.
And what draws you to the art of necromancy?
She sort of uh, pauses for a moment and says, honestly, it doesn't have to be necromancy. I don't know. I figured maybe you could just teach me something simple that I could practice, and I don't know, maybe it stops there, to be honest, but maybe it's the basis for something else later.
Well, again, my dear, that comes back to your goal. What do you want to accomplish beyond it being cool?
She sighs and sort of looks down and says, I don't know. She pauses a moment longer and then says, in the village, there are only so many things that we can do. I've This trip is going to be the furthest from home I've ever been. You keep asking me what I'm going to use it for, but to be honest, I have no idea. And she looks up and then says, but I'll try to help people.
I do like where your heart's at. Take the afternoon and think about why you want to do this, and then I'd be happy to show you as we go.
She nods and says, and gives a small smile and says, okay.
Fallon says, and if you change your mind and want to learn how to talk to like a dog, I'm your guy.
She pauses and looks at you for a moment and then just sort of gives you almost like a covert nod. Like stage hiding it, but winks and then continues along. Um, Meanwhile, quiz. As you sort of finish up your lunch, um, the Skarn looks at you and says, Master Quizmiligus, right?
Yes, that's me.
He nods and says, you've got a strange look about you. Care to, he shrugs, I don't know, pass the time by swapping a few stories?
Oh, I do love a good story. Go on, you first.
He nods and says, oh, all right. And anyone who's nearby can certainly listen in on this as well. Um, I suppose I may as well tell you about how my ship got its name, seeing how I promised that while we were at shore. So, he pauses and says, I first built this ship when I was a much younger man. I had help building it, but I did put in a lot of work on it. Anyways, I was a moody young man at the time, so I gave it a moody name, the Dusk Treader. Fast forward 20 years, I'm middle-aged, wife at home, but no children to speak of, crustier but wiser. I'm on a supply run to Bagulsa, and I've just set off for home when I notice there's this stowaway black cat on board. I let it walk the ship. It gets into a supply bag, but it also catches some vermin, so fair's fair. I take it home with me. I take off on my next trip and leave the cat with the wife. Come home. For 3 weeks, all I hear about is how she couldn't do any knitting because the cat destroyed all her material. Finally, I say, fine, I'll take the cat away, and before she can say another word, I'm out the door with it. I sail it all the way to the other side of the island and I let it go. I make another supply run, come back home. Wife can do her knitting again. Everything is fine. I leave on my next run after that and come back. Wife is waiting at the door with a look on her face that says, you're going to wish the Kraken had just sunk your ship and ended your misery. She walks me inside and points me to her storage cupboard. And what should we find inside but that same black cat, this time with a litter of ginger and black kittens, sleeping on a put bed of torn up yarn. And did I mention my wife isn't really a cat person? Well, suffice to say, I slept in the front room for a few nights after that, gave most of the kittens away, started taking the cat with me on all my trips. Years later, I had to make some expensive repairs, and, well, the cat fell ill and died on the next trip. I set her out to sea and rechristened the ship the Yarn Shredder. Not the most impressive of names, but it'll do for an old sea dog like me. And he gives like a small stage bow.
Fallon says, cats taste as terrible as they smell.
Huh.
But when times are tough, times are tough.
He says, to each his own.
It's more of an orc thing.
He thinks for a moment. You know much about orcs?
I've met a few.
Well, sounds like you might have some tales about you as well.
Fallon looks behind him. God, I hope not. And he points at Clean and says, she's the only one that got the hoodoo put on her. I don't know if that's a word in this universe.
I think hoodoo's universal enough. He nods and says, yeah, might be a bit of spot of trouble when you get where you're going, but as far as we of Basirna are concerned, it's not a problem. And he turns back to you, Quiz, at this point and says, well, I think I've gone ahead and gone first at this point.
Lovely story. That is a very wholesome story. Well, I am a man of many tales.
Fallon looks behind Quiz.
Did you hear me, Casey?
No, sorry, you must have cut out.
What would you like to hear about?
He looks at you for a moment. Okay, we're going to go with that. Says, huh? Have any stories about any ladies in your life?
Yes. I did quite well for myself back in the early days, I suppose. But now I'm given much thought to only one.
Nods. Well, you don't have to tell me specifics, but if you have anything worth the time it takes to tell it, I'm all ears.
Oh, it's a long story, really, and I'm afraid it's one of the more boring ones. We met very simply at a tavern in Citadel. I was telling stories of my adventures and conquests at the time, and She seemed fascinated, intrigued. After many nights at that same bar, we sort of fell and had a good life in Citadel, but her, being gnomish, wanted to move on to the gnome city of Spiru. And so we packed up and moved there, and for some time settled.
What was the name?
Ella Timbers.
Oh, thank God. I know it once. Go on. Continue.
And we lived in Spiru for quite some time. But she left. Turns out Spiru wasn't her home. So that's why that's why I'm on this boat now. It's still an ongoing story.
Actually, as you finish telling that story quiz, you hear soft enough that you're not sure anyone else heard it, but you're standing right by your pack, and you hear the clink. It sounds like the clink of glass bottles coming from your pack. And Skarn says, I can see I imagine there's more about you than meets the eye. Well, thanks for telling me what you have. It's always... He thinks for a moment. Always interesting to hear, if but a slice, of what others in the world have experienced, and to realize it's a bigger place than what you've seen, even after you've been over quite a bit of it.
And our world has only just grown. Where we're from, it's much smaller.
He cocks his head and looks at you and says, "Not quite sure of your meaning."
It's alright. I guess that's a story for another boat ride.
He nods. Fair enough. He looks up at the sky and says, I'd best go up and make sure that young one isn't steering the boat the wrong direction. He says, thanks for the story.
You as well. Immediately check my pack as soon as he walks away.
You find in it, let me think here, 8 bottles of beer.
On the wall.
Do you investigate further?
Yeah.
Okay. You take it out, and I mean, to a, to a certain point, beer is beer. Like, a lot of it looks very similar, but something feels very familiar about this bottle.
I take a drink.
And it is precisely one of the better brews that you came up with while you were with Ella. And with that, you can maybe check out the Discord chat. I have a thing to give you.
Okay.
Oh, and I forgot to put the name at the top. Let me edit the first one real quick. All right. So while he's looking at that, you sail on a bit further. Anybody looking to accomplish anything in particular with the next few hours? Otherwise, we're just going to sort of arrive at the island.
Shall we arrive?
All right.
Wizard arrives precisely when he means to.
Wait, what?
Or she means to. So the wizard arrives precisely when they mean to.
Lulz. Okay. All right. Got it. Yeah, there we go. So, okay. So yeah. You don't sail for too much longer before you sight a small island on the horizon. As you get closer, it proves to be kind of similar to the one you left, except that the sort of it has like one very large mountain peak at its center, and that makes the overall terrain of the island even another good bit more treacherous than the one you just left. Once you get too far away from the shoreline, you're kind of hiking, although there are trees a fair way up the peak. You do eventually land, um, and Indomitable sort of packs up his stuff and comes over to join you. The tieflings say that they're planning to simply stay for the ship with the ship and wait for you. The time at this point is what? Let me think. It would have been actually several hours coming over, so like early to mid afternoon, maybe like call it 2 o'clock. Certainly enough time to do some exploring, although um, if you spend a long time doing something, then you might be overnighting there. Do you just sort of leave and like, are you doing anything other than just sort of disembarking and going looking for what you came for? All right.
No.
All right. So yeah. So you leave the ship, and as you were coming in, you were sort of able to scout out where this little river must be. Go ahead and just for finding what you're looking for, let's just do the whole 2 leaders of the party again. So I need survival rolls from 2 people.
Wait, did we make it to the island? Is that what we said?
Yes, indeed. So you're now disembarked and going looking for what you came for.
And this is the island that was in my. Oh, whoops. I would have let Fallon roll that had I known Kane was rolling.
Was
Oh.
the island not also on the new map?
It's just it's just this little pink sliver. Like, it's tiny, but it's right here.
Yeah. I mean, I see that. I just okay.
Yeah, like that's where you are now. Fallon, did you want to do the survival roll?
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was precluded.
Yeah. Kate, I wouldn't have rolled. No one spoke up. That's why I was doing it. Casey, I assumed Fallon was going to roll though.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll go with Fallon and Kane. That works. I think that's what happened when you guys were in spring as well. So, okay, yeah, you sort of get your bearings. It's not too hard to just sort of navigate your way to the river and walk up along it. Although there are a few points where it goes over sort of some cliffs and you have to go out of your way and find your way back to it through the trees just in order to make reasonable progress rather than doing lots of rock climbing. Finally, you do, once you get to sort of the area that you think you were looking for, a village or the remains of one does not immediately present itself. Like, you're kind of just in a forest, and you kind of have to wander around for a little bit before you do finally notice the remains of some stone structures. Just sort of like, at first it's just on the ground, you notice what looks like the remains of like a wall or something like that. And then going a bit further back, you do actually find some more proper, this used to be a building. and you find the remains of what must have been this village's center, buried deep in the woods.
Casey, what is Dom's reaction to being?
Give me insight. Okay. He has sort of a forced neutrality about him.
I would like to help.
I mean, you can give an insight check as well. That's fine.
Yeah, I realize you can't hear me. Whoops. I guess that's why Quiz didn't hear me say that I was going to roll survival either.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, actually, with your rolls, what Fallon, Gmork, for what it's worth, you do sort of notice this like very, I mean, again, he's just sort of not really projecting much of anything. Quiz and Kane, you do sort of see through it a little bit and realize that it's forced. You kind of suspect that he knows something about this area, or that he's like pretending not to know. In fairness, none of you actually like asked him if he knew where you were going. But he didn't suggest anything, and you think that maybe he could have.
How are you feeling, Dom?
He pauses, looks back, and then sort of turns to face you. Has to look down a fair bit to actually see you. And he says, I'd be lying if I said that it didn't take me back to be here again.
What is this place to you exactly?
Distant memory. Well, look around. Came here after all.
We will. In due time.
He nods. He sort of walks towards the remains of some stone stairs. Puts his hand against the wall for a moment and looks up at what must have been some kind of landing, but that's long since crumbled away. Who knows if this building was multiple stories in the past or not. Probably at least 2, though. Finally, he just sort of turns back around, leans his back against the wall, and just looks into the distance.
Are there any buildings that look more whole than the others? Like, are there any that look even slightly like livable?
In every case, the roof has crumbled away. There are a few that have the remains of like that actually still have a proper archway on them to a ground level, and like standing walls, but that's about it. Give me history. Okay. Based on the level of decay that you're seeing here, and also just sort of looking around and realizing that there are, or at least were, other structures as well, which have like completely crumbled away. You gather that this place is old. One thing more, as you pause and sort of take in what you're looking at, you realize that you're not actually seeing what used to be the floor of all these buildings. They've sat here long enough that soil has actually built up over the first, you're not quite sure, but maybe like foot of the buildings.
Well, should we explore into one of these buildings and see what we can find?
Yeah, I think.
Casting detect magic at will.
Okay. By the
I
way,
will turn on.
foot is probably excessive based on what I know of like erosive processes. I'll say the first few inches and just leave it there.
Okay.
Okay, yep. So we're detecting magic. You do not see anything magical other than your party.
I'm turning on my eyes.
Okay. You now have the ability to sort of. Like, are you doing detect magic as well?
Yeah, but see, mine is for as far as I can see.
Right. Again, you also see only the party. By the way, one other thing that
Activate.
you might notice is just, again, the air is very still. You occasionally hear the rustle of maybe like a rodent or something like that, but that's about it.
I also turn on the X-ray ring so I can see through stuff.
Okay, yep. So far, you've not noticed anything surprising. Fallon, it's always possible, but I will note that your party isn't detecting anything magical, and that would decrease the odds of true sight being useful.
Okay.
But you never know. All right. So yeah, anyone who's just sort of looking around, give me your choice of perception or investigation. Wait, are you actually chugging a true sight potion?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this for everyone?
Yeah, perception or investigation for everyone. And let me remind
Advantage on
myself.
sight-based perception.
Yup. Okay, true sight lasts an hour. Got it.
What is perception based on? It's based on wisdom, and Gamork gets advantage. Or, wait, maybe he doesn't. But anyways, I can always mix that up.
Right.
I think it saves.
Okay. So you wander around and realize, actually, you kind of notice there's not a ton to see. Like you can barely detect some architectural themes, I guess, but they're pretty simple stone buildings. Let me see. Colleen, Kane, you happen upon a building that maybe you piece together might have been like call it a church at some time. Like they're just you see the remains of sort of an altar looking thing, and there's space where people could have gathered around it. But as you actually investigate it, like it's largely crumbled away. There are no distinctive markings about it. You're kind of even guessing to say that it's an altar. Fallon, with the advantage of your true seeing, to be honest, you mostly see a whole lot of nothing, but you do. It's not magic. It's not another plane or anything like that. But how do I describe it? Like imagine that you're seeing what you're seeing, but over all of it, there are sort of these faint black bubbles, like rising and popping, like murky. Basically, there's some sort of darkness hanging over this place. And you just really don't know what to make out of it beyond that.
I know we rolled perception, but now that I see that, would I would I roll Arcana to know what it is, or do I just ask Dom?
I mean, you can roll Arcana.
All right, that's acrobatics, not that one.
Shit's weird.
Oh, oh,
Y- y-
never mind.
yeah, you've got no effing idea. I will just remind you that, like, just by the virtue of having true seeing, you know that it's not any kind of magic or spell or anything like that. More so, like, rather than imagining yourself seeing this, just more imagine yourself feeling it, if that makes sense. It's a sort of a sense that hangs over the area.
So I describe it to Dom and ask him if he knows anything about it.
He thinks for a moment and then says, "Can't say that I do, but the stories do say this place came to a violent end. Or at least a quick one."
What caused it?
He turns around. You are out looking with Colleen. I'm going to imagine you sort of like a bit of a distance away overhearing this. He looks back, and as he starts to answer, I'm going to jump over to Quiz. Because Quiz, as you're wandering, you wander through the main buildings, and like you can make guesses at what they are. One might have been like a storeroom, maybe. I don't know. It's just such a nondescript building. You're just guessing based on the size of it. You enter another one, and looking at the remains of the crumbled away walls on the bottom level, maybe it was actually a home. And then you do, in fact, notice something slightly interesting. You very, very faint. So much that you sort of have to run your hands over it and feel it in order to piece all of it together. But there's a hasty engraving on the wall. Not professional, you think. Um, just something that somebody quickly carved. There is what appears to be a large figure. And you say large because there are other figures in it as well. And they're following this much larger person away. And then you also see a pile with like some wisps arising away from it. Whether it's, rot or fire or just like a smell. You're not quite sure what's signified by that. Um, but that's what you find.
Is there anything about the big figure that's distinguishable, or is it just a very crude drawing?
It's pretty crude and it's also eroded. You let me see. You notice that it seems to be holding something in the engraving. Give me one more perception check as you sort of carefully run your hand over it and try to work it out.
Come on, nat 20. 11.
Okay. On that, I will say I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I'll give you two guesses. And if you guess right, then I'll tell you that you're right.
Which hand is it in?
It's in the right hand and sort of slung over the shoulder.
Have I noticed what hand Dom is? Dominant.
He's right-handed.
Is it an axe?
Indeed it is.
Are any of my party members nearby and far enough away from Dom?
me see here. I will say that Kane sort of ran ahead of Colleen to get back to Dom and Fallon. You have a moment to flag down Colleen if you want.
I will try to flag down Colleen and then come back to the drawing.
Okay. So let me see. You're sort of trying to like signal to her at the proper like amount of noticeability. Colleen has to notice that.
Yeah,
So
let me see. Oh, before we do anything, let me double check my spells to see if I have anything interesting that can help.
My inky eyes see all.
Actually, I'm going to cast Mage Hand to kind of tap Colleen on the shoulder.
Okay. Colleen, you get a tap on the shoulder. Reflexively, you sort of look that direction, and you see Quiz kind of waving at you.
I will go to the quiz with a jazz hand of tentacles.
Tentacle dress.
Quiz immediately has regrets.
Regret.
So
much
quiz. Are you okay? Do you need help?
I'd like you to look at something interesting I found with me. I'll take Colleen back to the drawing.
Okay.
Did you draw this?
No, I found it.
Here.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
All right, and Casey, before we keep having this conversation,
Yep.
so what I'm assuming is Dom. You have not confirmed that, obviously, but I assume it's Dom leading
Mhm.
people away.
Mm-hmm.
And you said the thing they're walking away from looks like what?
It's a large pile composed of smaller somethings with something coming off of it.
Okay.
But the something coming off of it is like wispy, as if it was supposed to denote like a smell or flames or wind or something like that.
Colleen, I think this is where Dom formed his cult, his army, his whatever. This is the birthplace. I mean, this is a big figure holding an axe. And I know everyone's big to me, but the size of the drawing could also just indicate that he was a leader, leading people away from. What if this was the first place he targeted?
Can I attempt to interpret the drawing?
Yeah, sure. You can. Okay, first give me perception just for how much of it you're able to take in. Okay, and then give me, I guess, history for.
Oh yes, Daddy.
Oh, geez.
Give us the plot.
Everything.
So not only do you not only are you pretty sure that Quiz is right, I mean, you also don't know 100% for sure that it's Dom, but basically what you're seeing, the height of the figure, the prominence of the axe, what you already know about this place, it lines up. Moreover, you're pretty certain, based on some similarities in sort of the strokes that are used, that the pile is meant to be a pile of bodies.
Interpreted as he slew them and led people away like they were intruders, or he took the best out of a massacre and pressed forward kind of thing.
From the depiction that you have here,
Like, is it triumphant or rebellious?
oh, I see. You're looking for sort of
Retaliatory.
the character of it. I'm trying to think what you would able to be to detect from this. So examine it very closely one more time. And you realize that there's sort of a rough path drawn, and the large figure is walking along it. The figures that are following him are just sort of gathering up behind him. Some of them are still sort of congregated, if you will. and the pile is even behind that. So all in all, it gives you sort of almost an invasive feel, like he the large figure came from outside to some extent, um, slew some and led away others.
I was hoping that wasn't the case. Well, Quiz, I would say we have something to examine here. And really calls into question Dom's character. I really thought that I knew him better, but this is a little bit more foggy than I could have imagined.
Just out of
I hold up the Book of Shadows and I go, that would agree with what I've been taught from this.
I don't believe that Dom is what people say he is, but also this painting is another perspective that is not our own nor Dom's. It's entirely alienated from that, so we have to consider it as a consequence of his actions. But I really hope for the best in Dom, and I want his support.
I understand that, but we have to remember he was locked in that dungeon for some reason, being guarded by a dragon.
He was guarded in a dungeon from people we do not know that wield darker arts than my own or anyone else's, and we don't know why, other than history that says he may or may not have wielded several powerful artifacts, but we also wield those same artifacts now. Are we on the side of good or evil? Do we walk the path of history, or do we make something our own?
I see what you mean, Colleen, but do we really wield them? I mean, I've been with you for
With
a
great
couple weeks now,
hesitation.
and I've seen you use them once.
We don't know all they're capable of, and we haven't had a safe opportunity to really delve into that area. I hope that we can one day, but we are on kind of a strict deadline. And
But that's my point, Colleen. He does know, and he did use them.
he does know, and he did use them, and he's still here.
And while we were fighting that ghastly thing that turned you into this, where was Dom? When we next saw him, I saw him chatting up people as if to convince them to join him again. He's going back to the same thing he did before, Colleen. He has one goal in mind.
Well, Quiz, that is the same question I posed to you earlier. Will we walk the same path of history, or will we carve our own? This form is not a hindrance to me. In fact, it's a curiosity and a benefit in my eyes. Sure, one day I would rather be myself again, but think of all the amazing things I can do because of this twist of fate. Surely we have the ability at this point to twist the fate of the world. We've hopped timelines, we've changed so many people, so many opportunities. I know that we can redeem Dom and figure out what's actually going on with these people and these artifacts. There's some greater secret here.
But my question is now, Colleen, if Dom is exactly this,
I
will you
support
take
him.
action?
No. From the conversations I've had with Dom, I believe he's not the monster the history makes him, but he has a greater story, a greater part of this. and I want to see what that is.
I hope you're right, Colleen. But I'm afraid this is not as benevolent as you may think it may be.
I am cautiously optimistic, and that is both a benefit and a curse to the way that I see things. But I think,
I'm sorry.
I think you all know that I don't quite see eye to eye with most.
While I'm dodging Colleen's flailing tentacle arms, I'm going to take out a piece of paper and just sort of try and doodle what I see on the cave or on the wall of this building.
Sure. Let me check real quick if there's anything that would apply. You know what? I'll just call it general manual dexterity. Give me sleight of hand. I've been generalizing that roll.
Oof, rough.
You make a rough sketch of it. It does not look the same, but it's enough to jog your memory if it comes to that in the future.
That's good enough. Well, being short and your long arms is really awkward, so maybe we should head back to the others.
I trust your opinion, and I don't know if I would share this immediately with them. I don't want to cause any adverse reactions. We don't need to take any steps before we know the consequences.
If there's one thing I'm good at, Colleen, it's throwing people off.
Colleen will not respond to that.
All right. So, a short time later, the two of you make your way back to the rest of the group, and you arrive just in time to be just within earshot when Kane asks Dom if he knows anything. Dom looks up, looks around, sees that all of you have sort of started to congregate, and he says, "You want to know what I know?" He turns and looks the other way, up the hill and sort of even further away from the river. "All right, follow me then if you like." And he starts slowly walking away from these remains.
I hate to interrupt, but dog just busted out of my room, which usually means he has to go to the bathroom, so I'll be right back.
Gotcha. So, following?
Carefully.
Okay. I mean, are you taking specific actions or just like generally, like carefully means if I'm about to spring something on you, I'll of course give you a roll.
Yeah, just like alert.
Okay.
Not trusting Dom at all.
Yep. Okay.
Did Fallon mention his bubbles?
Not at this point.
Okay. Kane's gonna keep. I guess he's kind of found stuff. I had X-ray vision on too. That didn't do anything.
Well, actually, wait a minute. Let me think about this. You would have at least been able to tell that beneath the layer of earth that's built up over all of these buildings, there were indeed just like stone floors. You didn't see like hidden chambers or anything like that. Actually, you know, I will tell you one thing. With your X-ray vision, you would have noticed, and remind me to tell Colleen this when Brave gets back, because Colleen would know as well. You were able to make out on the floor of the church that you were in a symbol. Give me a religion check.
Yay! Intelligence-based skills are my specialty.
Who's making an intelligent or a religion check?
Kane. Luckily, it's
Okay.
a really...
11.
Yeah, so you would have noticed a triangular frame with the spiked scepter and manacles of Alkadir. Or no, I'm sorry. I take that back. That's wrong. You would have noticed actually the crossed arms and eye of Sheena.
Hey, this was a
Worn
Sheena
over time.
village. I
That's
said it to Fallon.
oh, okay.
I just convey that information to him. Hey, they got Sheena over there on the floor.
Okay.
That's the medallions we're collecting, right?
Yep.
Okay. Just maybe they got some souvenirs you could plunder. Seemed to like
Fallon investigates.
Well, I would just roll that into your check from before, and you didn't find any loose medallions. All right. So, yeah. So you do, and I'm skipping past. You've mostly found, I think, what you're going to find here. You follow Dom, carefully, keeping your eyes open, but follow him as he walks with sure steps up the craggy peak of the island. You notice that the way he's taking you is indeed a lot easier than what appears to be the average path up the peak, sort of betraying that he knows where he's going. Finally, you round a bend and you see the crumbled remains of a stone structure, another house perhaps, but similarly decrepit to the others. It sits actually beside what appears to be a natural hot spring. And there's sort of a large area of earth and grass at this part, with a few trees grown up, but not as overgrown as you might think. Perhaps it's simply hard for trees to grow this high up, or like the soil isn't deep enough, something like that. And he walks you over beside the stone structure, pauses, looks in the entrance for just a moment, and then, hardly hesitating, turns back to the rest of you and says, "Clearly you wish to know my past. Well, here's part of it. I have no further need of this place, but if you would unearth memories best left forgotten, so be it. I'll see you at the ship." And he starts slowly walking away.
I want to watch him until he's out of sight. Does he ever look back?
Not once.
Wait, where are you going?
Fallon says, "Wait."
Oh, okay. You will see at the appropriate time that he doesn't look back once. So he walks past your group, gets sort of beside the hot spring. You say, "Wait." He pauses mid-stride, but does not turn back, and he simply waits.
Fallon says, "I saw this black bubbly stuff. What is it?"
Were you under the influence?
Only of a true sight potion, my friend.
He thinks for a moment and says, "Perhaps you simply saw the impressions of an ancient memory."
Right. Super helpful. Thank you.
All right, what's going
Enjoy
on?
the stroll.
He keeps walking away.
Everyone's dead.
So basically, Dom led you up the mountain. He brought you to the remains of what appears to be like a stone house or like large hut kind of thing. A small house, let me call it. Similarly crumbled to the other ones. It sits on sort of a patch of land with like a lot of grass and some small trees, and also beside a natural hot spring. Specifically, what Dom said, I'll just go ahead and paste it into chat, just exactly what he said before he left. And then Quiz at this point would notice that he, walks away without looking back.
Well,
I'm gonna go with Dom.
Oh, okay. You follow after him. He's not walking especially fast, so you catch up to him easily enough. He doesn't say anything as you come up alongside him.
I'm gonna
Let's
follow
Oh, okay.
Colleen.
Are you trying to do so stealthily, or are you just following?
I'm just following.
Are you coming up with
Like,
them?
I'm walking with them. I'm
Okay.
walking with them.
All right. So
Yes.
all right. So leaving presumably Fallon, Gamork, and Quiz by where Dom left you. Colleen and Kane, you come up alongside Dom.
Well, knowing we have other company,
Mhm.
I will say nothing but walk alongside Dom and attempt to be comforting and, kind of happy, bubbly, kind of skipping along next to him.
Interesting.
I'm just watching Colleen.
Performance?
For me,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
let's go. Almost. So close.
Okay. He doesn't react pretty much at all. He doesn't tell you to stop or make any move against you. You feel very much as if he's like he's treating the situation as if you weren't even there, basically. Like not going so far as to not recognize. Well, actually, no. He's basically doing that.
Yeah, I don't care what his opinion is, but I know he feels something.
Okay.
And I'm just attempting to be a comforting source to him by not saying anything and being there for him.
Okay. Kane still just sort of
I'm just there to watch.
He's gonna walk all the way back to the ship. So if you want to walk all the way back to the ship with him, you totally can. But that's what he's doing.
I'm just keeping an eye on Colleen.
Okay. Then yeah, so the two of you walk all the way back to the ship. We'll come back to you in a moment. Quiz and Fallon.
If the 10 minutes on my detect magic is up, I'm recasting.
Yep.
And I'm tearing this place apart.
Okay. Let me see if anything would be noticed here. Okay, Colleen, noted.
Yeah.
Remind me of that when we come back to you, if necessary. But noted.
Okay.
Okay. So let me see here. I'm just thinking with detect magic here. Give me religion.
Oh, God.
Okay. Nothing on that. But sort of wandering about the place. Again, whatever was here has long ago been sort of wiped away, so to speak. You do notice by one of the old walls what appears to have been a hearth.
Did you say a harp?
No, hearth.
Oh, hearth. Okay.
You. Gosh, let me even think. Almost pretty much everything else has been wiped away. You can give me. No, actually, that would have been two. You do notice that, there are stones variously in the ground, but there's sort of an area where they're more densely packed, and you think there must have been a path down to the spring at some point. You do. Give me perception.
Come on, rolls. Jesus, what a bad night.
You do also notice, sort of stuck into the ground, just like a brass, just sort of chunk of metal. Maybe it was once like a rod or a post on something, but you lean down, you sort of pry it out of the ground a little bit, and you realize it's just kind of stuck there. It's nondescript. It doesn't really tell you much of anything.
Fallon, do you see anything? This is our chance to learn more about Dom.
Fallon looks about. Do I see anything?
Perception. Okay. You notice that mostly you just see what Quiz sees, which isn't very much. But you do notice a few spots around you, and actually give me nature as well.
Okay.
Okay, most of the ground is covered with grass or small plants. There are a few spots, though, where the plants grow sparsely at best and where the ground is a bit more smooth, perhaps.
Okay. No, I don't see anything. Looks like he killed everything.
Looks like there's quite a bit of destruction here.
Both of you can roll investigation.
Did mine go? Nope. There it is.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, unfortunately, no help on that.
Fallon, what do you think of Dom?
Should have left him in the pit. I don't know. Kind of a bad guy waiting to. It's kind of a bad situation waiting to happen. And I don't know how we'll stop it. But, we've got other more urgent matters to attend to.
Yes, you are right, so might as well not waste any more time here.
Back to Colleen and Kane for a moment. Both of you make the investigation check as well.
Yes. I'm not good at that. Let's go.
Oh, snap.
Okay.
Colleen's good.
So, Colleen, you've been following him all the way down. As you're about to make that mental connection, you realize something. That you think that there was a very subtle hint in what Dom said. So allow me to once again remind you of his words, and you clue in on the word unearth and realize that he was making it not obvious at all, but you think he was literally telling you that if you wanted to find things, you should dig.
One second.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to handle this.
Do it.
No, I don't. I don't. I don't know how to get rid of Kane easily and give him the information he needs while still being with Tom.
I know how to do it. Can't you just touch him and tell him in his brain?
No, because I'm touching Dom.
Well, I had this happen the moment before you did that, so if you want to change your mind about that, feel free.
No.
Okay, you go ahead and make the mental connection. He doesn't react. Doesn't resist it, but doesn't react.
If you think about it, if he was basically telling you directly to dig stuff up, is he going to get mad if you tell Kane? Especially
Not
if you said things like-
necessarily, if I believe it'll keep Kane busy. So don't tell him where. So as that occurs to me, I'll turn to Kane and say, you know, I think you have some digging to do back with the others. If you could give us a couple moments, I'd appreciate it.
Can I insight check? Clean? Like,
I make no attempt to deceive you, so hopefully it's a low.
Sure, if you want to, Kane.
see if Kane gets, like, the correct or wrong impression from this request.
Well, I mean, there's your ability to understand the words she's saying, and then there's, like, her intent. So you gather that Colleen is being normal, more or less Colleen, and, like, she thinks you have some digging to do.
As I turn back to him, I
How
say,
far away
bring a
have you walked?
shovel.
How
Did
far
he say
away
how-
have you gone?
Yeah, from the ship to where we walked from. How far is that? In feet.
In feet?
Yes.
I mean, it's, like, gonna be a few miles, so what's that gonna
Oh,
be?
a few
Like,
miles?
yeah.
Dang it. Dang it, I can't use my wind clone.
Yeah, no.
I don't have a shovel. Maybe there's some shovels on the ship. I will go ask about shovels. Ask if there's any shovels on the ship. For whatever reason, they would have shovels.
I mean, I don't know. I'll say maybe you explore the ship. Like,
Can't you just like ask the captain? Yo, dog, you got some shovels?
well, I mean, you're not there yet. I'm imagining this conversation happening when you're still like most of the like, still a lot
Yeah.
closer to where you left from than to the ship.
One second,
Hold
I'll be right
on.
back. I'm gonna head back. I'll just go dig.
You're just gonna turn around and head back towards the location that you just left. Kane, is that what you're doing, Kane? Hello?
I can hear you.
I can't hear
I don't know
Kane.
what Kane's doing. I can't hear Kane.
Did he say he would be right back?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are. Are you continuing to follow Colleen and Dom down to the ship, or are you turning around to go back to the rest of the group?
I'll go back to the group, help them dig, tell them about the digging thing.
Okay, so you turn around to head back there. Let's keep the camera with Colleen for the moment.
All right, I'll put it back.
Yep. So Colleen, you've made this mental connection, and you're following
So-
Dom down the mountain.
I'll continue to walk side by side with him in an effort to be a calming presence, and I will ask him telepathically as we walk. Dom, why don't you want to be here? Can you explain this image? And I'll attempt to demonstrate the mental image if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Like what I've seen with that.
Right. You continue walking for a moment. He doesn't react at first, and it drags on long enough that you start to wonder whether he's going to answer. And finally, he simply says, "There are some things that must lie for..." And actually, he just... Let me think here. How would he... No, this will be telepathically. He just says, "There are some things that must lie forgotten, Colleen, at least as far as I'm concerned."
Dom, if you know me, nothing lies for long, and surely not forgotten. I need to know what happened so that I can move forward, because I believe that you can be all that I think you are. And I need to know that.
If you need to know, then I suggest you turn back and go to the rest of your group before we're too far down the mountain and you forget the way back.
I need no way back because I'm here with you, and you are the first-hand source, and I don't need anyone's trail to follow. I'm here with you, and I need you to tell me what's happening.
He says, "We can speak further when we get back to the ship, Colleen."
You realize this is all in your head, right? As I skip joyfully next to him.
He breaks stride for like a microsecond and then just keeps walking.
I will follow you, and we'll have this conversation. There's no running from this one, and I hope you don't find it prying, but this is essential to our cohabitation.
Go ahead and roll persuasion for all of this.
Okay.
Okay. Noted. All right, let's jump back to the rest of the group. So Kane comes back to you and basically says that Colleen thinks you should dig.
Dig. And as Quiz says that, you watch an earth elemental raise up out of the ground from underneath, lifting him into the air. And he goes, "I believe Mr. Thomas here will do a fine job of that." And of course, I'm using my Minions of Chaos ability. It does use a spell slot. I will
Wait,
command...
isn't that like a separate thing? Like you can use specifically that once?
It says using a Warlock spell slot, unless I've mistyped a word, which is possible.
Okay.
Because I could have forgot the word without.
Oh, yeah. Actually, let me double check that. Because I thought that was just like I don't know, like a once per day thing or something like that, and not actually going against your spell slots. So let me quickly check. All right. Minions of Chaos. Oh, nope. It is using a Warlock spell slot. You are correct.
Okay. Yep. So Mr. Thomas, I'm going to command him. Well, actually, I'm going to say. So, what do you think we should begin? Fallon,
Sorry, repeat that.
what do you think we should start digging?
I guess on the parts where the plants aren't. I don't know if there was a clue in that, Casey, of where to dig. I
Maybe.
assume it'd be in the parts that
He
aren't.
he told you about like a flat open spot.
Well, there are a few of them, actually. Just a few spots where the vegetation was coming in a little weirdly.
I will
Yeah,
start in the
that's where I
closest
meant.
non-vegetated spot.
All right. So, and let me just mention at this point, it is getting on towards evening. You still have some daylight left, to be sure, but, it's getting to where it's slight consideration. But yeah, you go ahead and dig, and I'll say with your Earth Elemental, you make pretty quick work of it. Although you do have to go rather deep, it turns out. Maybe like, um, several feet down before Thomas, did you say?
Yep.
Okay. Before Mr. Thomas does indeed discover something, please roll a d9.
Oh boy. Okay. That's how you.
You know, it's a big deal when it's not a real dice.
Well, he's getting one of 9 things. Okay. So, let me do this. So, you hear sort of a tink, and a moment later, you see the arm of an earth elemental rise up out of the ground, bearing what appears to be some sort of silver badge or something like that, like placard. It's only a few, like maybe about 4 inches wide and a few inches tall, small enough to be worn, perhaps. On it, in the center, you can see what appears to be a family crest of some kind, prominently bearing let me see here, a sailing ship. And across it, you see the name Black Iron. So,
Do I see another spot?
indeed you do.
Have Mr. Thomas go over there and dig his way down.
Okay, roll a d8. All right.
All right, I'm back.
Roll
Yep.
20's hack.
So basically, Quiz has started digging. He found a silver badge thing with the family crest and the name Black Iron on it. And as you dig down this time, you actually come across. Let me see here. Let me see. How would I'm trying to think. Actually, there's something I didn't quite think through, and I need to. Okay. So, Mr. Thomas gets done digging. Again, you hear sort of a chink. Comes out and is bearing like a metal box or container of some kind. Not too large. You open it up, and you find inside fairly well preserved, considering how broken down everything else here is. Looks like this metal crate or whatever kept a lot of the environment out. You see a black coat with barely recognizable on it, but it seems to be a stitched pair of crossed swords. Go ahead and roll history.
I have detect magic going also.
Okay, neither of these items are magical in a way that your roll from before would not cover. Okay.
There's a real adult roll.
But you do remember that it's very much antiquated. But a pair of crossed swords in that style would was sort of a recognition granted to a very skilled mercenary. There was in fact some sort of special material used for it. This, I mean, like the coat itself would have been special, and you recognize this is one of those.
And that's all that's in the box is this coat.
Yep, just the coat.
If we have time, try and get to one more spot.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you're making quick work of these because earth elementals and digging is a pretty natural pairing. In fact, you think you'll be pushing it a little bit, but you might be able to just get to all of them. But, you know, let's continue on with seeing what order you find things. Please give me a D7.
Okay, if I roll a 7 now, this is rigged. Oh, that's not right. What did I do?
Great question.
Oh God. Oh, okay.
All right. So this time it produces a crumbling leather bag, barely holding itself together at this point. As you examine the contents, it appears to be holding some very old coins. You actually, again, give me history because these are very old.
Nope.
Okay, there are 40 coins, but you're not quite sure what the what the exchange rate would be.
Is Kane there? Do you know?
You
Got the
can,
money.
yeah. I mean, quiz if you're showing these around.
Yeah, we're just leaving them in a pile.
You can certainly roll that same history check, Fallon, as well. Yeah, Lady Gaga's Judas begins playing in the background.
Boy.
It's a song. Okay, let me see.
Nope.
Fallon, you think that these are old plat? So it's 40 plat.
Next spot.
All right. Well, actually, at this point, everyone who's there, so Fallon, Kane, Quiz, technically Gamork as well, can give me a religion check. As you're starting to pull some things together.
Jeez, I can't roll tonight. Please, God, don't make me roll anymore.
Okay, nothing so far.
This is nonsense.
Oh my goodness.
Quiz.
I rolled a 19.
Yep, that
Yeah,
wasn't
probably
high
rolled a
enough.
19.
Quiz.
Hey.
Give me a, what, D6.
It's a real 19 as well.
It is indeed. Unfortunate it wasn't a real 20.
Ought to count for something.
Okay. So this time you unearth a poker, a tiny shovel. Looks like there were buried a set of like iron tools used for tending a hearth.
Oh, it would be a D5 now.
Yep, D5. Okay. And this time, you strike down, and you hear sort of the creak of wood, and start taking it a bit slowly at this point, because considering how old everything seems to be, wood would be rather delicate at this point. You spend a bit of time excavating around it, and finally produce what appears to be a small coffin. And you can indeed see bones through it. Would
Any
anyone?
magic?
Nope. But would anyone like to investigate more closely?
I will,
Uh,
because why not?
Colleen's not here, right?
Correct.
I am not. Good, he says.
No
Yeah.
raising babies, baby zombies.
Anyone who wants to can give me a nature check to
All these intelligence checks, Casey. Why do you hate me?
basically pull this,
Jesus.
look into this coffin and examine it more closely. Okay.
Tonight is not my night.
However, it is Fallon's night. As Fallon,
Alright.
you peer inside and look it over. Partially just like helpful knowledge when you're like getting in scraps with lots of different creatures, but you know something of anatomy, basically. And there are certain obvious physical differences between different races. And as you look at this one, first of all, it's small. It could be theoretically like a gnome or a halfling, but the skeleton is all wrong for that. So you think it must be a child. And actually, come to think of it, it would even be kind of small for a gnome. Like, it must be like a newborn, you think. Looking at its other distinguishing features, you realize that it has, this could easily be overlooked. It looks human, but you notice small things off about it that actually give it away as either a tiefling with very sort of muted tiefling characteristics, or perhaps part human and part tiefling. You also do notice a few deformities about it that might indicate some kind of congenital condition, like weird knobs on the bones and that sort of thing.
Can you tell how it died, Fallon?
No. It
What
looked
can you
like
tell?
a half human, half tiefling baby. Something wrong
That's
with
the
it.
thing? Doesn't have half humans and half tieflings?
I think we should leave that one there.
Fallon says, yeah, shouldn't have dug it up. Thank God Colleen's not here.
Dear God.
Do that. Wait, but
Okay.
what was it?
So next, you actually come down on another coffin. This one's significantly larger. You carefully take it out. Anyone who wants to can make the same nature check on this one.
It's his baby mama.
God.
Just by statistics, at some point, one of us should roll really well.
Fallon's not doing bad.
You can tell from Fallon. You can tell from a few distinguishing marks on it that it is an adult tiefling. To identify anything further, the gender, whether anything happened to it, you can't tell. seems a bit more decomposed than the other one.
I inspect the pelvis bone to see if it is broken,
It's
as may happen in childbirth.
it's like kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Broken down in a way that you're really genuinely not sure if it's something that happened in life or if it's just natural decomposition. But as I said, definitely an adult tiefling.
Is a
And
tiefling,
I tried.
full tiefling, probably, maybe, well, I'm a tiefling, I don't know. Maybe this is Dom's special lady and his child.
So we have a mercenary. The name, was it Black Iron?
Black Iron.
Bag of 40 platinum. And a dead mother, potentially, and child.
Ooh, or was he supposed to kill him?
Anyone who wants to can repeat the religion check at this point.
He's supposed to go kill him, but he couldn't do it. And he buried the money. Somebody's got to roll a 20, or else we ain't getting it.
Don't put your faith in me, unfortunately.
Helmet of 1.
Come on, Gamork, son of a bitch.
Yep, unfortunately not high enough, but you have still identified a few more patches that you can dig up if you want. Sun has not yet set, but you know that that's coming.
There's 3 left, Casey?
There are 3 left. Okay. You dig down, and you hit on a small chest, digging it up, and well, actually no, it's kind of large and more long than it is deep. You bring it up, open it up, and you see inside a longsword, a pair of daggers, and a collection of arrowheads. They are old. And actually, you realize they're not just arrowheads. There were the shafts attached to them as well, but they're fairly broken down. Quiz, looking with your detect magic on, I presume you've been refreshing it. You would notice weak traces of magic about this. Give me Arcana. Or actually specifically about the sword. And you're not sure on the details of this, but theory, if this is so this is one of 2 things. It's either just that they've been exposed to magic somehow and sort of it's lingering about them, or that they actually were enchanted but it's faded. And if that's the case, then that really drives home how old all this stuff is, because magical items do not lose their magicalness on appreciable timescales. Like many of them, not ever, but like if the enchantment was not like set properly, like usually the way you make a magical item is by casting the same spell on it over and over again until it kind of takes. So if somebody sort of cut a corner, then maybe it could have faded over time, but like still, that would have to be effing old.
Right.
But you've got a collection of weapons here.
Kane, there's daggers and pokey shit if you want it.
It looks super old. Does it even still work? Like the enchantment's pretty much gone, right?
Yeah, the enchantment's pretty much gone. Like the long sword's rusted. Like the daggers you could probably technically use, but like yeah, all this stuff has kind of gone to rot. Okay.
I just say like I don't need daggers anymore. I got these, and I turn my bangles into the wheel and fire things, and back into bangles.
Quiz, you dig further, you hear a tink, and Mr. Thomas produces a glass bottle. Again, driving home how old this is. Glass flows slowly over time, and the side of this that was closer to the ground has become thicker. The part closer to the surface is a little bit thinner. Like, not something you notice unless you look closely, but you're looking closely, and geez, old glass bottle. Inside is what appears to be ash. Let me see. What would this be? Investigation. Anyone who wants to do that?
Can't you give me like a medicine check or something?
Yeah, no. It's all intelligence-based checks all night for this.
Hey,
Hallelujah.
there's a real roll.
Yeah, like I rolled a good too.
Yeah.
I think it's on a glass bottle.
So Kane, you like Kane, and actually you all figure it out. But it's one of those things where Quiz figures it out like substantially before you. So before you can prove that you already knew, Quiz, this is burned up parchment. And actually, some of it's sort of a different color. You think it might have been bound, perhaps, so like a book or a journal of some kind. Or actually, let me see here. No, let me take that back just a little bit. It's a rather large bottle. It's rather full. You think there was actually multiple documents that all went into this.
He's really trying to hide his past from us, isn't he?
You do
I mean, you
still
kinda
have one
told us
more
this.
spot if you would like to look there. Yeah, nice. And the final spot that you dig up, and you realize now as you dig up the last one. Actually, no. Let me see if you realize. Investigation all around.
There is Colleen when you need it.
Yeah, I love how she
Off
vamped
making
out
out
for
with
this.
Still not the best investigator, probably, but maybe the best. I don't know.
I have a -1. to
I have
my
the highest
investigation.
intelligence score, but I don't have any points invested in investigation.
You don't have a -1.
Okay, wait. Let me try and remember. What was I having you roll for?
Because
Oh,
you're doing
yeah.
great.
So
Is it the pattern of the holes?
2 zeros. and a
that is
-1.
indeed. So Gamort kind of barks as Kane. You realize that these do
Kane also
actually
barks.
make a sort of pattern. What it is like a square and then another square rotated 45 degrees with them sort of like centered around the same point. And then and actually you realize the center point of that was the actually, let me think. Which one would it be? It would be the infant's skeleton. Would be right in the middle. This point that you're digging up is on the opposite side from the adult corpse that you dug up. And this time you pull up another similar looking coffin.
Yeah.
Opening it up, this one has a lot more bones in it. Anyone who wants can roll a nature check.
I'm sorry, Casey. A lot more what in it?
Bones.
Come on. Yeah, it's not bad. Nature, everybody. We got to team together.
Oh, I can see Quiz now.
Working on it.
At least he's not a fake Didja, much like the fake Radiclus on screen earlier.
Okay. Kane, you're used to having to sort out lots of bodies and figuring out what's going on. I don't know. I'm loosely justifying. There are 3 bodies in these graves and in this coffin. And you sort of have to sort them out a little bit because they're kind of loosely jumbled together. But, like you're sort of primed to notice tieflings, and you do notice that there are in fact 3 tieflings in here. And you do also see what might be like slash marks on a few of the bones, where like over time it's sort of accelerated decomposition in those areas and sort of become a bit of a gouge.
Like, are these like big gouges? Like
Yeah,
like a small blade or a large blade?
like the
Like
kind
an
that you might
axe.
expect from like a heavy sword or an axe or something like that.
Hmm. Well, gentlemen, it seems that these bodies were killed with some sort of large bladed weapon, perhaps a large sword or axe. They died approximately a long time ago, and I can't think of anything else. So, I was trying to do like
CSI and On Green featuring Kane. I love it.
Do we see any weapons in this coffin of 3 different bodies?
Dum-dum.
Yeah, right. Not in this one, no.
We left Khalid with him.
Yeah, right.
Celine went with him.
So,
That being said, y'all can.
Shush.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say to Kane and Fallon, what do either of you know about tiefling culture? Anything?
No.
Why would these 3 be stuffed into one hole and the other 2 taken care of more properly?
They didn't
These
like
ones we could see how they died. The other 2 we didn't really.
They didn't like him. Hey,
No.
just see, were these cuts like in random spots or in the same spot?
Different locations. One across the back, another sort of across the torso.
Yeah. See, these 3 were just killed. They were just like killed in like a fight. See, like the other ones, whatever killed them was something more premeditated, I guess.
Do we get to roll religion again?
You do.
Somebody's got to get a 20.
Anyone have like a potion?
And
of
I'm going to say you have advantage on this because you found all the clues.
religion?
Jesus, this is unreal.
Damn it, Gamork, you son of a bitch.
Well then, can my thing work here?
All right, so it's funny.
Wait, can my thing
Oh,
work here?
hey, KC, hold on. I have inspiration.
That does just give you advantage.
Oh, okay, never mind.
And
Get out of here, Colleen.
if it makes you feel any better, Fallon barely succeeded on the difficulty that I'd set.
Okay.
What about me?
No, you failed it.
Wait, where's Fallon at?
Look, if not for
You
that,
got a 14.
no, I got a 15.
15.
That's
I
that's
Oh, that
Gamork
was-
with the
advantage.
14.
Never mind, advantage.
Yep. Because I gave him advantage. You barely got the difficulty, and now you don't have to leave tonight not knowing what's going on. So Fallon, you remember having done a small amount of research into rituals associated with the worshippers of Alkadir. You recall something, a specific religious ritual that does require a set of 9 offerings that are arranged in this pattern. These 2 rotated squares all around a central item. And actually, let me quickly adjust something.
What was in the center?
The baby.
Mm-hmm.
The what?
The baby.
Oh, snap.
So I don't have
Power.
the order perfect on this. It would take me too long to sort it out to read these off in the perfectly correct, like going around the circle order. But you remember that 9 sacrifices are required, and they go roughly as follows. And I will go ahead and mention which item these correspond to. There's a sacrifice of knowledge, which could perhaps be the bottle filled with ash. A sacrifice of power, like if indeed books were burned or something like that. A sacrifice of power, the weapons would fit. A sacrifice of wealth, the coins would work. A sacrifice of status. The black coat is a recognition of a mercenary. A sacrifice of home. You found some tools of the hearth. A sacrifice of identity. The silver badge. A sacrifice of an enemy. I mean, we're speculating now, but we've got 3 loosely jumbled corpses. A sacrifice of a lover, which could perhaps be a 4th corpse. And in the center, a sacrifice of an innocent. There is some numerology associated with the number 9. You know, there's the 9 hells and that sort of thing. There is something odd about this that you're not immediately sure what to make of. You know that normally in this ritual, the items are destroyed completely, and these obviously have not been.
Do you remember what the ritual does, Fallon?
As far as the purpose of the ritual, it's, and let me think about this real quick. It is mostly sort of your typical act of devotion / request for power, whatever form that might take. So, you know, it could be a way to gain a powerful devil as an ally. It could be a way to be gifted with a specific ability,
Like,
or some sort of
yeah.
material gift or something like that. The exact
Mortality.
payoff could take different forms, but that is the general purpose of the normal ritual. You know, which again, you can tell that this one is somewhat abnormal, but that's the basic idea.
So I relay that this was a ritual and what the items probably were meant and that what it might possibly do.
Did he kill his family for immortality?
Or for the ability to not be affected by the Alkadir items or whatever. It wasn't supposed to, it almost looks like it didn't work.
What makes you say that?
The items are still here. Would
Oh,
Imra
is he
know
here?
what's going on here?
I mean, maybe.
Knock, knock, knock.
Oh my.
Dearest Imra.
Mandatory charisma check.
All right.
Can I ask the dragon thing afterwards as well? Fallon's thing doesn't work out.
You want just straight charisma?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Got this, Fallon.
Okay. No, these are all DC 5.
You're a DC.
If he manages to roll really low, then Imra might not show up. But okay, you do that same sort of mental thing that you do to, you know, summon the vaguely defined connection between you and Imra. Normally, this just sort of results in, like, I don't know, a weird sort of messaging. This time, there is a rush of black and crimson flame, and the pit fiend himself stands before you, sort of across from all the items that you've dug up, with his back to the hot spring.
Is this because he's no longer trapped in the place?
I mean, his ability to do that might be... Well, I mean, you know that he had some freedom even before that, because of Innis, but...
Right.
He appears and he says, "You rang."
Can anybody else see him?
Everybody else can see him.
There.
You are all looking at Imra the Pit
Wait.
Fiend.
Oh, hey.
Well, hello again.
Fallon says, I did indeed. Man, we're in a pickle. I have a question for you.
Hmm.
And I described the things we found for the sacrificing ritual, and that, you know, clearly he got something for this, but it looks like it didn't work on, because all the stuff's still here. What gives? And does Imra know what he got out of this one?
He looks down. He looks up at you. Give me a persuasion check.
Can I help him?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
He looks at you and says, "I'm unfortunately not at liberty to share the details." And then and then
Puppy dog eyes. Gamork.
right, and then as like okay, I'm giving you credit for this. And then as he like sort of draws out the S on the word details, Gamork does his best show for Imra and looks up at him sadly, and Imra pauses. Gamork starts to perk up a little bit. Imra looks at him, and then Imra walks over with great strides towards you. You see his large clawed hand begin to smoke for a moment and then stop as if it's cooling off. And then he reaches down to pet Gamork.
You cut out after it reaches down to pet Gamork. Was there
Oh
something
no, that's
after
all I
that?
said. I was just waiting
Okay.
just in case there was a reaction. He
Yeah, I just let him have his moment.
Gamork performance.
Okay.
Got this. You're the goodest boy. Does Gamork have advantage for being a
He's
good
got
boy?
a -2 to performance.
Okay.
Oh.
It's not tragically bad. The persuasion roll is still the main thing here. Gamork is at first tenses up a bit because he is, after all, being pet by a pit fiend. Wolf or no wolf, this is not a normal thing.
Right.
But
Pit fiend pets are pretty perilous.
allows the pit fiend to sort of like, pet him a few times, finally gives him a rub behind the ears, and then steps back to where he was and looks at you all, sighs, and then says, "Gamork has convinced me that I might be at some liberty."
I wink at Gamork.
It's hard to say no to Gamork.
This, he thinks for a moment, I cannot say all, but clearly you had some help in coming here. This ritual did not fail. He looks at you, Fallon. Are you aware of the normal ritual associated with this arrangement?
I assume that I am, so I say yes.
Indeed you are. And he says, indeed. So, the departure from the normal ritual and the preservation of these items was intentional. The message of this might be interpreted as, all these things I offer up, but I do not give them to you. The ritual succeeded. I will say no more. And with that, he waves his hand,
Wait,
snaps his fingers, and disappears in black flame.
what does that mean?
Uh,
What did he give him to?
himself. That's how he got powers.
Wait, but no, you said he
Was
didn't
this
get
a
the sacrifice.
taunt? Was this a taunt to some higher being?
I don't know. The only thing it made me think of is, well, if he's not, he says he offers them but not giving them to you. Like, what does that? What does that do?
You all
for
can make one
someone
more
else?
religion check.
Jesus.
I guess he just wants to watch us fucking suffer.
God damn. Quiz not on tonight at all.
Come on, good work.
Colleen. God damn it.
You're welcome.
um,
I rolled a 4.
I will tell you simply this. This is a ritual to Alkadir, and you do gather from what Imra said that this ritual is going to be related to Alkadir and his power, given that it's being offered to him. But rather than being, an offering to him, it's kind of a thumb in Alkadir's nose. It's almost like an assertion against him or over top of him.
Who is Alkadir again?
The lawful evil god of domination.
We have his stuff.
Yeah.
So that just tells me that this is how he got his ability to not be affected by Alkadir's hoodoo on his weapons and stuff, on all the vestiges.
Quiz is going to, with Mr. Thomas, go back to the hole with the child.
Okay.
We want a DNA test. Oh my god, that was a screech.
Quiz is going to command Mr. Thomas to pick up the box.
Okay.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
It's a dead kid.
No.
Appropriate, given the reference.
Balance
Change.
Are all halflings like this?
Why are you picking up dead kid? Are you becoming Colleen?
Colleen and I had a conversation about Dom earlier, where she wanted to know his nature. If she really values life as much as I think she does, this should sail.
Ooh.
I think she's wanting to get to know more than just his nature.
Yeah, that's the impression I got from what you said, based on my 9 insight check.
And then because Quiz is far too good to walk, he gets on Mr. Thomas's back and is ready to leave.
Okay. Any aversion to that? All right. So you all gather yourselves. At this point, the sun is in fact beginning to set.
Is anyone going to take the 40 platinum we found?
Oh shit.
Are we gonna do what? Oh, the plat? Take his offering. Are we undoing his abilities by doing this? That would be great.
I mean,
not be super great.
It happened so long ago, I don't think it matters anymore.
So the one thing I will say about the plat is, like, unlike your other currency, this is like antiquated to the point that you might have trouble spending it normally.
It's trying to spend euros in America.
Or Spanish doubloons. I think you could melt it and sell it for
True.
whatever brick.
Listen,
Plat is
bring
plat.
it with us. I could convince anyone to take it from us as a novelty item. Let's just go.
I don't think we should take it. It's creepy.
My earth elemental's holding the corpse of his child. You don't
That's
think I'm
also
weirded
very
out by
creepy.
this?
Like, these are all creepy things occurring right now.
Quiz apologizes to Mr. Thomas for the trauma he's inflicting upon.
Let's go rattle the bones of his dead child in his face.
Oh, actually, it occurs to me that only
This will
lasts
be
an hour,
wonderful.
right?
What?
Your earth elemental. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that only lasts an hour. At this point, Mr. Thomas sort of gives a low groan, and you see him slowly crumble back into the ground.
Hi, Thomas. I say in Primordial.
Yeah, it only lasts an hour.
Hmm.
I
I don't
actually kind
see
of
that.
let you have that for more than an hour, to be honest, but whatever.
Huh. Yeah, I've never seen that number listed, so okay. That's fine. I also just have Conjure Elemental.
You could make another one.
I will make another one, whom I will call Philip.
Okay.
I say hello, Philip, in Primordial.
Are you commanding Philip to take up the child's corpse?
What's
Yep.
the good news? I found a nickel. What's the bad news? It's a girl nickel.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Philip, the nickel.
Oh,
Really odd parents.
Nope.
I don't remember that.
we
Alright.
walk back to the ship on that note.
Okay, so
Well,
yeah, it
The
just
kid's in a box.
all right.
you
Yep.
know?
Okay. Let's jump quickly back to
The make-out session?
Colleen.
Yeah.
So Colleen.
Wow, 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 wow.
Doing
Oh
the
my
dance
gosh.
of the seven
I can
veils.
feel it
on the boat.
coming, baby.
You and Dom reach the boat. As you get on, he nods to Skarn. He gives a small wave to Levy, and he just simply wanders over to the rail and watches as the sun starts to slowly set.
I say to him, Dom, whatever you want to tell me, I'll believe you, but I need you to be honest with me, because I will not tolerate any deception here.
He looks at you and says, I do many things, Colleen, but I don't lie. Now, he looks back over the water. Talk to your friends when they return. And if you still want to speak after that, well, you're more than free to ask.
I'm here with you now, Dom. I don't need their opinion on you. I have you.
So you do. And that is where we will end it.
What? No. No.
I want to walk back onto the boat and see Colleen naked trying to crawl on top of Dom, and then I want to have the Earth
Alright,
Elemental Philip
that-
smash
that
the
crosses a
coffin
line.
onto the deck and have the bones rattle across the deck and have like.
Well, he's not going to smash the body. The goal is to get clean to
Quiz
see.
says, "Say hello to Dom Jr."
Clean is never naked, please. I'm a lady.
I mean, you might be wrapped in a sheet.
There's always convenient fog in the appropriate areas.
Shadows.
Reminder, tentacle arms.
This is a
Oh.
family-friendly.
Oh, God.
God.
Forgot the
Why,
tentacle arms
Casey?
and the black murky eyes.
Hey,
See, the eyes would be enough to just ruin me.
I'm not writing anything sexual here. You guys are all implying.
Don't lump me in with them. It's them. I'm just trying to show you
Uh-huh.
the kid's
Don't lump
corpse.
me in with
So
them.
says the shudder of the tentacle.
And I'll stop the
Okay.
recording there.